The auction was empty, but inside this ship, something was alive. Are you ready to see it? The auction hall was silent, almost oppressively so. And the lack of a crowd made the place feel more like a mausoleum than a marketplace. I had arrived, expecting the usual chaos shouts from collectors, the metallic clink of credits being transferred, the excited murmurs of speculators, but today there was nothing. Rows of floating displays hung like specters above polished flooring, each projecting an item's holographic image, yet only a handful of faded auction attendants drifted along the edges. Their attention divided between the items and the screens showing empty bids. I wandered past the stalls, noting the usual assortment of relics, ancient alien weapons with corroded energy cores, exotic minerals that shimmered like captured stars, and trinkets that belonged to species long extinct. None of it interested me. I had been to hundreds of auctions across the spiral rim, and I was looking for something unique, something that could not simply be bought with credits or bartered for with favors. And then, near the far end of the hall, I saw it, a forgotten vessel drifting in a containment field like a ghost tethered to the present. Its listing was brief, almost dismissive. Lot 7421. Galactic survey vessel. No known ownership condition. Unknown, no description of its systems, no history, no provenance. The holographic projection flickered occasionally, giving glimpses of a ship that was elegant, its lines both functional and beautiful. As if designed by an architect who understood both physics and art, its hull was marred by scratches and burn scars, but the craftsmanship suggested it had once been extraordinary. I raised my hand to the floating bidding interface, my fingers hovering over the buy now option. There was no competition, no one else bidding. The emptiness of the hull made the act feel intimate, almost secretive. My instincts screamed caution, but curiosity won over reason. With a single press, credits left my account, and the ship was mine. No one celebrated, no bells rang, and no gavel fell. The attendants barely acknowledged the transaction. I was given a single access code and a set of coordinates to a private docking station where the ship awaited. The journey there was quiet, my shuttle cutting through the cold void, the galaxy stretching in all directions like a dark, jeweled ocean. My mind raced with possibilities. What could this vessel hold? Its emptiness suggested neglect, but the design hinted at purpose. Perhaps it had been used for exploration or scientific study, or even military reconnaissance. I didn't know, and that uncertainty thrilled me. When I arrived at the docking coordinates, the station was a derelict structure floating on the edge of a barren star system, its lights flickering weakly in the void. I docked my shuttle and approached the containment bay. The vessel hovered inside, seemingly suspended in the air, its metallic hull reflecting the dim light of the station. The airlock opened with a hiss, and I stepped inside, my boots echoing against the metallic floor. The interior was dark and silent, save for the occasional creak of settling metal. The ship smelled of dust and ozone, an odd mixture that reminded me of long-forgotten laboratories. I activated the main power console, and the dim emergency lights flickered to life, casting long shadows along the corridors. The panels glowed with faint, unreadable text, some of it in languages I didn't recognize, others in scripts that had not been used in centuries. I began my inspection systematically, moving from the bridge to the engineering section, checking life support, propulsion, navigation. Everything was dormant, waiting, as if the ship itself were asleep, conserving its secrets until someone worthy arrived. And then I found the first anomaly. In a small compartment labeled containment, subject, a cylindrical pod sat alone. Its surface was smooth and metallic, with faint pulsations like a heartbeat encoded into the steel. A warning sign flickered intermittently. Do not open, subject, unknown, hazard level extreme. I felt a chill, but curiosity drove me closer. The pod was warm to the touch, and a faint hum emanated from within, almost melodic, almost sentient. Against my better judgment, I activated the release mechanism. The pod hissed and then split open, revealing its occupant, a creature unlike anything I had ever seen. It was humanoid in shape, but its skin was translucent, revealing a network of glowing veins beneath. Its eyes were enormous, dark pools that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The being moved with a grace that suggested intelligence, its limbs folding elegantly as it regarded me. It did not speak in any language I recognized, but somehow communication passed directly into my mind, a wave of thoughts, emotions, and images flooded me. Fear, curiosity, longing, memories of distant worlds, and a warning. I staggered back, overwhelmed, as the creature projected visions of a civilization that had vanished, of experiments that had pushed the boundaries of biology, of a war that had consumed an entire sector of space. I realized that the ship was not abandoned by accident. It had been a repository, a prison, a laboratory, and whatever I had just freed was both the key and the danger. The next hours were a blur. I attempted to interface with the ship's systems, but every terminal I touched seemed to respond to the creature's presence rather than mine. The navigation panels rearranged themselves, charts of star systems I had never seen appearing across the displays, logs in unknown languages filled the screen, recounting journeys, discoveries, and warnings. The creature moved through the ship as if it had never left, its touch activating hidden compartments, unlocking storage bays, revealing technology that should have been impossible. I spent the next day cataloging what I could. The ship was designed for deep space exploration, capable of traveling through uncharted regions of the galaxy. Its propulsion system was unlike anything in current use, capable of bending space and localized fields, reducing transit times across light years to mere hours. The engineering bays contained devices that could manipulate matter at the molecular level, and the medical facilities held vials of unknown substances, some containing the essence of extinct species preserved in stasis. Yet, with each discovery, a sense of unease grew. The creature followed me silently, observing, guiding, or perhaps judging. I could feel its intelligence probing mine, testing my intentions. It was clear that the ship had a purpose beyond transport or exploration. It had been a vessel of transformation, a crucible where science and ethics collided. By the second day, I understood that the ship was not entirely safe. Systems that seemed dormant would activate spontaneously. Holographic projectors displayed warnings in multiple languages, each translating into a sense of urgency or dread. One such warning was particularly clear: do not awaken the others. I had no idea what the others were, and I knew I was already too late. In a sealed chamber at the rear of the ship, I found more pods identical to the first. Their surfaces shimmered faintly, and the same pulse of life radiated from within. I hesitated, my rational mind screaming caution, but the allure of knowledge proved irresistible. I opened one more pod. The effect was instantaneous. A shockwave of psychic energy rippled through the ship. The creature I had already awakened let out a sound that resonated both in my ears and directly in my consciousness. The new pod opened to reveal another being, similar yet distinct. Its bioluminescence brighter, its form more fluid, almost liquid. In its motion, the two beings interacted in ways I could not comprehend, communicating through pulses of light and waves of thought. I realized that they were part of a network, a collective consciousness, each entity carrying fragments of knowledge, memories, and experiences. They were explorers, scientists, guardians, perhaps prisoners, and I had broken the seal that had kept them contained. Panic and awe battled within me. I tried to retreat to the bridge, to regain control of the ship, but the vessel's systems were no longer mine to command. The beings had integrated with the ship's AI, the propulsion, the life support, even the weaponry. Holographic maps now pulsed with unknown destinations, star systems that did not appear on any current galactic chart. Over the next several days, I learned to coexist with them, to communicate in fragments of thought and emotion. They revealed their history. Eons ago, their civilization had mastered the manipulation of life and consciousness. They had sent their ships into the void to study emerging civilizations, to catalog knowledge, and, in some cases, to intervene when extinction events threatened intelligent life. But their society had collapsed, and these vessels had been lost, drifting until now. I understood, finally, that I was not merely a new captain. I was an intruder, a participant in a story that had begun long before humanity existed. They allowed me a role because of my curiosity, my persistence, my capacity to learn, but the gift came with responsibility. The technology aboard the ship was too powerful to misuse. The beings themselves were too fragile to expose to the wider galaxy. Weeks passed as I acclimated. I learned to pilot the ship not as a machine, but as a living entity, feeling the subtle pulse of the beings through the hull, anticipating star systems as if the galaxy itself were aware of my passage. I explored worlds that were entirely new, cataloged phenomena that defied physics, and encountered civilizations that had never known other intelligent life yet. The shadow of what I had unleashed lingered. One day, I entered the engineering bay and found a panel that I had not seen before. It contained a single message addressed to whoever might awaken the ship. The final test awaits. Only the worthy may proceed. All others must be returned to slumber. I realized that the pods contained more than explorers. They contain the architects of life itself, entities capable of remaking worlds, of bending the rules of biology, of influencing entire civilizations. And I, a lone human, had released them. The beings communicated this to me without words. The final test would determine if I was capable of stewardship, if I could navigate the balance between curiosity and recklessness, knowledge and power. The challenge was not physical, it was moral, intellectual, and spiritual. In the following cycle, the ship accelerated beyond known limits, taking me to a remote system where a planet orbited a dying star. Its surface was barren, scarred by conflict or neglect, yet beneath the crust life pulsed faintly, fragile and desperate. The beings guided me to an interface, showing me the potential consequences of intervention. I could terraform, restore, manipulate, even seed new life, but every action carried risk, and every choice revealed character. I hesitated, weighing my desire to act against the warnings that etched into every system. I realized that the auction, the forgotten ship, and the beings were a test all along. The universe was not merely a canvas for exploration, it was a mirror, reflecting the choices of those who dared to wield its power. I chose restraint. I stabilized the planet's core, prevented catastrophic collapse, but did not impose my vision upon it. The beings pulsed with approval, their forms glowing in shifting patterns of light. I had passed the test, not by dominating, but by understanding, by respecting the balance of light, by accepting that knowledge was responsibility. The ship, once empty, had become a sanctuary, a classroom, a laboratory of the universe itself. I was no longer just its owner, I was its partner, its steward, its human link to a collective older than any recorded history. I understood now that the auction had been empty not by accident, but by design. It waited for someone who would be curious enough to act, cautious enough to consider, and wise enough to listen. And as I drifted through the void, charting star systems unseen by any other intelligent life, I realized that the greatest discovery was not the ship, not the beings, not even the technology, but the knowledge that the universe itself had chosen me for something greater than mere possession. The emptiness of the auction had led me to the fullness of understanding, and I was ready to face whatever awaited within the vast, dark ocean of stars.